I need everyone in the room who is not a pharmaceutical company CEO or CFO to pretend that you are. And I'm going to be your marketing guy. And I've called us into a meeting because the sales of our newest drug, which is clearly superior in terms of, versus the standard of care, is just not selling. So I've got an idea. And in this idea, I'm going to try to persuade you that this is absolutely the way that we are going to make this drug a success. But here's a couple of caveats I just need you to be aware of. So the first thing is this communication is going to go out to patients, but they can't buy the drug. Okay, so they can't purchase. Our primary customers, are our physicians. They are philosophically opposed to what I'm going to propose to you. We've got this reputational issue around pricing, and this, unfortunately, is going to potentially fuel the backlash against that because of the dollars we're going to invest in this. Because of the FDA rules around what I'm going to propose, at best, 60% of our ad is going to try to sell the benefits of our product. 40% is going to unsell the product. We've got, because of all of that fair balance, that safety language we have to build in, we're probably not going to be able to run anything shorter than a 75-second ad, and realistically, we're probably going to run a 90-second ad. And I know, as a company, we absolutely want to be seen as a leader. We don't settle for being, middle of the pack. So to be in the top 10 spenders in this, we're going to have to spend over $100 million. And even if you want to settle for being number 20, you're still going to have to spend 63. So everybody with me? You got my check? Okay. Yeah, not exactly the most compelling proposition. Yet, numbers aren't in. 2017, over $6 billion was spent, and that does not count digital spend. It's a new record, by far 50% higher than what was spent just 3 years ago. So you kind of wonder, why is this still something that goes on? And to really understand it, I think you need to kind of go back to the beginning. So fall of 1997, a little over 20 years ago, the FDA allowed DTC ads. And everybody talks about patient empowerment and what a cool new concept that is. Yet 20 years ago, the FDA used that as the reason why they ultimately acquiesced to what had been years of requests to allow for these ads to actually go on TV in magazines. Essentially, the idea is, as the public, FDA is all about public health. We can actually improve public health by making patients more aware of the choices that they have out there in this space. It can improve awareness not only of the treatment side, but also awareness of condition. So that was sort of the premise, and having been part of this for a very long time, I thought I would have a little fun and show you some of what was the original sort of pool of ads that were done in this space.
Claritin.
It's time. It's time.
Don't wait another minute for Claritin.
Claritin. I'll ask my doctor.
It's time to see your doctor.
Mr. Wilkin, the doctor will see you now.
At last, a clear day is here.
I want to know more about Claritin.
The doctor will
Yes,
see you
ask
now.
your doctor for a trial of Claritin. For free information and a $5 coupon to a...
So at the time, who doesn't know Claritin now? When this ad ran, there was literally 0% awareness. What is this for? You have any idea? But yet, that was a great ad and actually, built that drug to a $3 billion plus drug. Here's another one.
Problem?
Doctor said my cholesterol is still too high.
What about diet and exercise?
He didn't do enough.
So?
He suggested adding Lipitor.
Lipitor, the #1 prescribed medication for lowering cholesterol. In clinical studies, Lipitor with diet was proven to lower bad cholesterol 39 to 60%, total cholesterol 29 to 45%, triglycerides 19 to 37%.
He said over 4 million people have started taking Lipitor to lower their cholesterol.
Okay, not exactly the most scintillating ad, and certainly one of the ads that gives the industry the reputation that it does. And by the way, maybe this is a more educated crowd. Who the hell knew what a triglyceride was? Yet there it is, right in there. Okay, here's another one.
Sometimes you need a little help staying in the game. Ask your doctor about new Levitra. But once you get in the zone, it's good. Ask your doctor if a new choice is right for you.
Okay, probably the worst metaphor for sex ever created. Okay. I have to admit, I was part of that. So we all do things in life that we're not proud of. What can I tell you? Although this ad, just to try to defend a little bit, this ad was coming in trying to unseat Viagra. I mean, the recognition of Viagra when this ad launched was very close to 100%. That ad, believe it or not, still has the single highest score for awareness of any DTC ad that has ever run. So I don't know what that says, but probably not a good thing, but that is a fact. So it did what it was supposed to do, just not in the most endearing way.
Oh, hey, hi, I'm Digger. Don't mind me, I'm just a dermatophyte. You know, a nail infection. All I want is to get in here and live under your nail. You can't get me with clippers or those surface treatments you try on your own. I'm in too deep in your nail bed. I'll make myself comfortable, invite a few friends. Settle in.
Do you have thick, discolored, or flaky nails? Millions of people do.
All right, that's enough. And I swear, if this was before lunch, I would not have shown you that ad. But, you know, again, you know, just one of the most successful, if the definition is what did that do for the brand, that became a billion-dollar drug for a condition called onychomycosis toenail fungus. You know, how does a drug sell $1 billion to treat that? In large part because of that ad. So, you know, that's the not so good. I thought it would be only fair to show you a couple of what we think are some of the better ones that are out here. So I don't know if you remember, but the second ad of the not so good ads was a Lipitor ad. There's an example of when you get the right agency to do work. And as an Interpublic guy, I give full credit. That's an Omnicom agency, Merkley. It's one of the best DTC ads, I think, creatively, that has been done over the last 15 years or so.
Cholesterol. It comes buttered, battered, basted, and roasted. But it also comes from Mom, Dad, Grandma Rose, and Grandpa Joe. Your cholesterol doesn't just come from food. It also has a lot to do with family history. Ask your doctor about Vytorin. A healthy diet is important, but when it's not enough, adding Vytorin can help. Vytorin treats the two sources of cholesterol. Food.
Okay, oh, sorry.
65.
Sorry, cut it too early. But that one is a really interesting one because visually, you know, one of the most distinctive ads we've ever created as an industry. That, though, spoke to a brilliant insight, which is that for those who have cholesterol, you think you kind of did it to yourself, one too many eggs or many other things. And the truth about cholesterol is it's as much genetic, and it's probably more genetic than it is from actually what you do. And the idea that there were these two sources of cholesterol took this drug to actually, at its peak, over $3 billion in sales. This last one, I'm sure almost no one has ever seen, but it's got a good story behind it. Oh, sorry, guys.
Cholesterol.
Okay, here we go.
65. That's Jenny Nielsen.
She's cute.
Oh, it was a fantastic summer. We were the only ones on the block who had a real pool, so everybody came. Spent all day in the water, the sun baking on my head.
You look like a lobster.
I lived in the sun.
Yeah.
Remember those carefree days in the burning sun? Your skin remembers. If you've seen a dermatologist about those rough, scaly spots on your head or face called actinic keratosis or AK, you know there are probably more still developing. Left untreated, AK could lead to serious skin problems. So why wait? Visit treatak.com or call 866-98-TREAT-AK.
So here's an ad. You don't see any brand name in there. This was to treat a condition called actinic keratosis. It's those little rough spots you get. This ad was phenomenally successful in driving patients in to talk to their doctors about this condition. And frankly, as an industry, we should absolutely be doing more of this kind of stuff because it's truly what the FDA wants. They want us to raise awareness of these conditions. This is a potentially cancerous condition that if you treat it early, you're fine. Unfortunately, this was done by 3M for a drug called Aldara. What we sort of failed to work into the whole kind of sell to management was that treating this, if anybody's ever had these done, dermatologists freeze them off. That represents up to 50% of their practice income. So getting a copay to write a prescription isn't exactly going to replace what is 50% of your practice income. So, again, a great ad did exactly what it was supposed to do. Unfortunately, did not quite work, in real life, which is why you've never seen it. So here's the, so after that kind of first, call it 10 years or so of DTC, what we saw almost anywhere was you saw significant increases in diagnosis and treatment across all those disease states. And about during the heyday of Viagra, Pfizer did a study, which I still think is one of the most compelling studies our industry's ever done. What they found is that the people who went in to see their doctor after seeing a Viagra ad, there were literally tens of thousands of new diagnoses of hypertension, high blood pressure, cholesterol, and diabetes. So if you think about all those Viagra ads over the years that kind of made you cringe, the other side to that story is there are now probably hundreds of thousands of people walking around who've got conditions they never knew they had, now treated. What's also interesting is because, again, you see AMA actually issuing, the American Medical Association issuing a statement saying, DTC, no thank you. As an organization, we absolutely do not want this anymore. Yet over 80% of physicians typically will give the patient the drug they're requesting. So there's a practice in real life that speaks to why this is so successful. And again, at the end of the day, just bottom line ROI, you're looking across the industry, study after study, you're looking at averages between 2 to 3 to 1. And there are actually multiple cases where you're in double-digit ROIs. I've seen 12 to 1. So, this is absolutely something from a business standpoint that's successful. Unfortunately, you throw one too many footballs through a tire, and it's not going to do well. And so, as an industry, what you saw in 2005, which was kind of the peak of the sort of old world, DTC went a little bit dark, both from a spending standpoint and frankly from a creative standpoint for almost a decade. The good news though, I think we've entered sort of a new era. And in this new era, it's a smarter approach to DTC, not just in terms of smarter as in strategy, but just smarter as an overall approach of how to use the tool of DTC to really help improve public health, help improve bottom lines of companies' sales, as well as how to help the medical community. So, just if you think about it, you've got stronger insights. I've got a case study I'm going to show you in a second, which is a great example of that. Staying true to campaigns. Unfortunately, pharmaceutical marketers, no offense to anyone who's in the room here, there's a tendency to not appreciate the benefits of an enduring campaign. And so you see a lot of switching year in and year out. And that has gotten much better. Media spend has gotten way smarter, even though we're still spending exorbitant amounts of money on TV. But the way that we're spending now is significantly improved. And frankly, the executions are more engaging. So as an example, developed by a Boston agency you may have heard of called Hill Holiday, I wanted to show this because I think it's a great example of all four of those trends kind of coming together. So for those who have not worked in the world of type 2 diabetes, it is, it's just an incredibly crowded category. If you look at the list of the top 20 spenders, that $63 million cutoff, 5 of them are diabetes. There's no other category that has that many. Unfortunately, though, if you think about diabetes treatment and the way that agencies and their marketing partners have tried to develop ads, the insights that they've utilized have historically been not exactly compelling. You need to get your life back in balance. You need to exercise more, and that will make you feel better. Just very generic sorts of things. The executions then, of course, were very undifferentiated. And you just saw the campaigns, because they really weren't working great, constantly change. So with Invokana, what Hill Holliday, in working with Janssen, the Johnson & Johnson Pharmaceutical Group, these guys identified an incredible insight, which is that every time you go to the doctor, essentially, you're getting a bad report card. That cycle of, I think I'm doing better, but I'm really not, because my weight is actually going the wrong direction, my blood pressure is a little bit worse, and most importantly, my diabetes numbers are still going up. There was a need to figure out how to tap into that kind of bad report card and flip it and actually put optimism back in this treatment paradigm. So by breaking the cycle and talking about the successful numbers that you can achieve on Invokana, you can actually not only have better overall diabetes management through these better numbers, you can actually really kind of begin to turn your life around. Interestingly, there's a very unique way this drug works, and again, to the credit of the agency team, this mechanism of action story, which you'll see in there, is a really interesting way to understand how this drug works, which is something, again, frankly, the industry doesn't spend a lot of time doing usually. And just, very good executional format.
With type 2 diabetes, a lower A1C is a lot about choices, but it can be hard sometimes, because different sides of you struggle with which ones to make. Well, what if you kept making good ones? Then, you could love your numbers. Discover once daily Invokana, a pill used along with diet and exercise to significantly lower blood sugar in adults with type 2 diabetes. Invokana works around the clock by reducing the amount of sugar allowed back into your body by sending some sugar out through urination. It's not for lowering systolic blood pressure or weight loss, but it may help with both. Invokana may increase the risk of lower limb.
I'll save you the next 30, 40, 50 seconds of fair balance. This ad and the 6 that have preceded it, have truly each time produced test results that are the highest performing of all type 2 diabetes ads. It's made it the most requested brand by patients. And what's so interesting, we find, and this is obviously in most part due to the drug, but patients who have been treated, and there's been more than 1 million of them, actually stay on this drug longer than competing diabetes drugs. So it's all around, it's just been a great example of a campaign that has stayed true to that core insight, over now what is almost 6 years of DTC. Okay. So just real quickly to wrap, kind of what's next in our world. You heard Paul talk about it just before, in terms of digital. Larry Mickelberg will be up in a little bit, and he'll talk to you more about this. But, you're going to see better and more engaging ads. And I think if you look on TV, you're kind of inundated depending on what program you watch. They're getting better. But more importantly, and I've seen, you've seen a ton of TV, so apologies, because that really is not, where the bulk of the action is these days from a creative development standpoint, but a much stronger commitment to digital from the industry. And then I spoke before about smarter media. This use of precision targeting is also something that is finally now coming into this industry. And then social, which has always been a huge issue because of all that fair balance language. How do you, in whatever number of characters, I can't say Twitter here either probably, but you think about number of characters, there is no way fair balance fits in that number of characters. So we, as an industry though, we're figuring out smarter and better ways to use social. So at the end of the day though, just to wrap, there is still a commitment. Why does it defy logic? Well, it kind of doesn't, because it's a smart marketing investment on the part of pharmaceutical companies. But more importantly, if you go back to that 1997 decision by the FDA, it's giving consumers who are hungry for information, want to know more about their condition, want to know more about their treatment, it gives them that information. And as those of us who work in this space think, if you can help somebody's life be a little bit better by doing something like this, that's about as good a thing as you can do in this industry. So, thank you.